Hello and welcome to my mother's stash. I'm Dawn and I'm knitting my mother's stash. Today I want to talk to you about improvising a sweater. And I have been um, working on improvising a cardigan the last couple of days. Last week when I made my last podcast about choosing, I was leaning towards either doing a shawl or a cardigan, and at that point I said that I was leaning mostly towards the shawl. But as the days went on, I realized that I was actually really keen on knitting the cardigan. So I decided to do that. And then somebody told me, I can't believe you're just improvising a cardigan. I had no idea what I would do. So I thought I would go over what I do to improvise a cardigan and how I do my calculations to get the right stitch count, etc., etc. So let me first pull this up. So I have been following uh, this um, I have been following this recipe, I would guess you could call it, for how to improvise a top-down raglan sweater. I did that also last year. I think it was, yes, it was last year. Wool Needles Hands podcast improvised. Wool Needles Hands podcast did a knit along where you improvise the sweater. I have done an improvised sweater before that, but it was never really with good results. Following this recipe from what's it called? KT Slow Closet. What the podcast ktslowcloset.com is definitely um, the best method I have found so far. I think the difference between her, what she does, and what I do is that I do a provisional cast on first, because I I like that better. And I did a few things where I was messing about with the neckline, and I'll get back to you about that later on when I've just gone over this. Because I'm not doing a ribbing in the neckline afterwards, so I prefer to do the provisional cast on. I also don't really like picking up stitches a lot, um, so that works out better for me, at least in this instance. So I'll get back to how I did that and how I was planning on doing that. Also, I'm not going to edit this file today, so if there's a lot of ooh and ahs, then that's just how it is. I can't really change that. I'm not home. I had to go to Denmark. My daughter is starting a school for performing arts next year, and they invited us kind of last minute to an information meeting next week. So we're in Denmark. I'm also going to visit my son in Odense. Maybe I'm going to, I don't know, next weekend make a vlog of the places we've been, etc. in Denmark. Um, Maybe visit some yarn stores in Odense when I'm visiting my son, and some thrift stores here in Jutland. We're going to be here a very short time. We're not going to have time to see any other family than just my son. But we're going to my daughter's school, and then we're staying with some friends. And I basically only brought my laptop and nothing else. So this is what I'm recording on. This is what it's going to be. So I'm following KT Slow Closet recipe for how to do a top-down raglan. And if you follow that to the T, you will get a garment that fits you. That's for sure. Then I'm also using these measurements that are, or these percentages that are from Elizabeth Zimmerman. I don't remember exactly what book, but they are the measurements that you need to do um, a to do a top-down round yoke sweater. I'm doing a raglan, so this is not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. And these are not this is not an exact science, but these are pretty good estimates of how you go about um, uh, creating, finding the numbers that you need to do a raglan. So I put all this uh, into a spreadsheet, and I have my chest circumference, and I have measured the back of my neck from here to here, like under your earlobes and down. Let me just from your earlobes and down here. I measured that. That's 19 centimeters on me, 7.5 inches. Then I made a stitch gauge before last week, actually, even to see how far that goes. And I have decided on the amount of ease that I want. And then I have plugged that all in here. So this is calculating how many stitches I need for the body. This is how many stitches I need on the neck if I want a tight neck, and this is how many I want if I want a large neck. This is that back of neck measurement, how many I need there. And this is how many I want on the shoulder. This is calculated as 1/3 of this. As you can see, if I calculate this in inches, it's not going to be exactly the same. But it's approximately the same, right? It's because my conversion of centimeters into inches is not exact, then this is also not going to be exactly the same. So the back of neck becomes 32, and then the shoulder is 11, because that's 1/3 of the back of neck, and then the front is 38. Now I'm quite busty, so having the front of my cardigan bigger than the back makes sense, because I need to have more fabric here than on the back. My back is pretty flat. So it's okay that these two numbers are not exactly the same. You can also make them exactly the same. If you're making a sweater for a man, you can balance that and make sure it's exactly the same. Half of that is 19. And then this here, down here, says that the yoke needs to be 138% of the body. Now, I am not sure about that calculation. If I take, let's just look at this again. If I take 100% here, I know why it is. So I took 100% here, and then I took 40% here. Because in some drawings it says 40% on the arm. So that depends on how loose you want the arm. But 100% here, and then 40% here and 40% here, minus 4 times 8% on the underarms, gives me 148. Obviously, if the sleeve is 35, then I get to 135. So that depends on how big the arm you want. And I have decided I want 40%. So this is where I need to be at. I have when I have 302 stitches on a needle, I need to split for sleeves, which gives me 26 increases. If anybody wants this spreadsheet, leave a comment below, and then I can send it to you. I don't know exactly how that works on YouTube, but leave me a comment below and I can send it to you. We can figure that out. So this sleeve is then 40% of my body stitches, and the underarm is 8% of the body stitches, which works out to 16. Now I did a bit of correction, so I ended up casting on 93, which makes this one 33. And then everything else here is the same. And let me just show you how far I got. Let me see here. So I have made 15 increases. So the barber cord makes it like kind of wavy around here because there's not enough weight yet to pull it down. So I'm just over halfway through. And as you can see, my neckline, I can either have a really big neckline, like it's really hard to correct in a mirror like that. Ha! So I have a really big neckline here. Either I have a really big neckline and it doesn't overlap because I continue to do increases here, or it overlaps like this. So I did continue to do increases because I wanted this sort of round slope here on the edge. So I can make it sit. I can either close it together. I'm really bad at doing this in a mirror. I can either close it together or keep it open. And then if I keep it open, it's rather large. I'm about halfway done with the raglan increases. So they go down to here, and then when I get down to here, I split for sleeves. I am quite happy with the fabric. So this is garter stitch, and then I have incorporated an I-cord in the raglan here. So let's just talk about this, because I have an I-cord here, as you can see there, and I started out making a provisional cast on. Then I knitted the I-cord onto that provisional cast on, and then I unzipped the provisional cast on. I did a crochet provisional cast on, which is what I find easiest, and I did that with some mercerized cotton thread because it's really slippery and easy to unzip. Let me just turn this off. So my friend is renovating her house, and that's why we're living in a room that's not completely done. And so she's like halfway painted this, and then now we're staying here. So I started out doing a provisional cast on with this, and then I knitted the I-cord on, and then I went back and unzipped the provisional cast on, and then I'm knitting down. And I cast on 93 stitches in the provisional cast on, and then I did short rows for 12 rows, and then I included, so that's if you can see here, let me just hold this up so you can see that this is kind of slanted here, over here, right? It's kind of slanted down, and then I included the rest of the stitches, and then I have continued to increase one on every second row here, and then I'm incorporating the I-cord going down there. So obviously the I-cord part is kind of advanced. It is like doing an I-cord cast on, and I had to do this several times, because first I did an I-cord cast on, a regular I-cord cast on, where I increased one stitch on every row of the I-cord, and that ended up having some very, very long stitches. then I tried to just do a provisional cast on and then do the short rows and then afterwards pick up the stitches to do the I-cord. That ended up being a mess because I then had like the German short rows in there, and it wasn't very elegant, and it was very fiddly to work with. This is a lot better, and I might do a tutorial on how to do that when I get home. So, but basically doing a raglan top-down sweater is not it's not actually that hard, and you can improvise basically everything. And once you have the basics down for raglan top-down sweater, you can include any pattern that you would like to include in there, right? You start out by making a swatch, which is really important in this case because otherwise you don't know how many stitches you would need in the back and the front, etc., and how many you would need to do it. And I did it once where I didn't do a swatch first, and seriously, I had a giant neck opening, and I have learned from that, and I'm seriously doing a swatch every time. So what I actually wanted to say was, I know that not many people are listening to this channel. I hope that will change in time. But if anybody wants to join me in knitting a top-down raglan improvised, I'm happy to help, and people leave a comment down below, and then I'll be back next week, hopefully with some footage from Denmark. The weather is amazing here. It's been raining for almost a month in Spain, and my friend says it's not been raining for 2 months in Denmark. So it's like world turned upside down. But the weather is beautiful, and I hope to get some footage of some blooming trees and greenery. It's not very green here yet, but it's coming. And maybe a yarn shop. I don't know. Maybe some thrift stores. I have a feeling I'm gonna go to some thrift stores and see if I can find any woolen thrifts. And then next week I will come back with that. And then also I finished my shawl that I can't wait to show you. But it didn't bring it here, so I'm not going to show it today. I don't think there's much else. It's a very short one today, but I hope it's okay. Let me know if anybody's interested in doing this this raglan construction thing with me. Then I'll be happy to host it. Bye.